What's going on, everybody? Kalipis Tech here, coming back at you with another video. In this video, we're going to be doing a comparison between the Samsung Galaxy A23 and the Cricket Dream 5G. So let's get started. Now with the Samsung Galaxy A23, we're getting a 6.6-inch 90Hz PLS TFT display with a resolution of 1080p, a PPI of 400, an aspect ratio of 20:9, and a screen-to-body ratio of about 83%. With the Cricket Dream 5G, we're getting a 6.82-inch LCD display with a resolution of 720p, a PPI of 263, and an aspect ratio of 20.5:9. Now overall, I would say the Samsung Galaxy A23 does have the better display here, simply because the quality is so much better. Not only do we get a much sharper and crisper image with that 1080p resolution versus 720p, you can really tell the difference here, but the Samsung Galaxy A23 is also much brighter, as you can see from the viewing angles alone. So if you're outside or something like that, or just generally using your phone a lot, you're probably going to get a better experience with the A23 because of this. And just so you know, as you can see here, I do have both of the phones at 100% brightness right now. So it really just goes to show that overall, no matter what, the Samsung Galaxy A23 does have a much brighter display. In addition to this, I would say the colors look a little bit better as well. But all that being said, there are two different areas where the Cricket Dream 5G does have an advantage. First of all, it's clearly much larger, so if you're doing something like reading where the quality doesn't really matter a whole lot, you just need to see things clearly, then the Cricket Dream 5G might have an advantage there, because when it comes to that sort of thing, a larger display is always better. And in addition to this, it also has a slightly better form factor with a 20.5:9 aspect ratio versus 20:9. This is going to make things look a little bit better in landscape mode, and when you're reading, you'll be able to fit more on the screen without having to scroll as much. So overall, if you're doing general content consumption where you want the image on the screen to look good, so if you're streaming videos, playing games, something like that, then the Samsung Galaxy A23 is definitely going to be the best choice here. But if you're doing something like reading where the quality doesn't matter so much, you just want to see things a little bit better and be able to fit more on the screen, then the Cricket Dream 5G might be a better option for you. Now for storage, with the Samsung Galaxy A23, we're getting 128GB of internal storage with microSD card expansion, so that's a real good amount of storage. And with the Cricket Dream 5G, we're getting 64GB of internal storage with microSD card expansion as well. So it's nice to see that both phones do have microSD card expansion, so if you do fill up all your internal storage, you can always offload stuff like photos and videos, for example. But that being said, the Samsung Galaxy A23 does have a huge advantage here with 128GB versus 64. We're getting double the storage here with this phone. So if you're more of a power user, if you have lots of apps and stuff like that, then I would say the Samsung Galaxy A23 is going to be a better choice for you, because when you're a power user, even larger amounts of storage do go by pretty fast. So it's always good to get the largest amount you can. But if you're more of a casual user, if you don't have a bunch of apps and you just don't do a whole lot with your phone besides photos and videos and stuff like that, then the Cricket Dream 5G is going to be okay. I mean, 64GB really isn't bad. It's just that the Samsung Galaxy A23 with 128 has double, which is really a lot more. Now there's no wireless charging with the Samsung Galaxy A23, but surprisingly, we do get 10-watt wireless charging with the Cricket Dream 5G. So that's actually a pretty nice surprise, because we typically only find that feature in flagship phones, but the Cricket Dream 5G is one of the few low-end phones that actually has wireless charging. Now is it a huge game changer? No, not really. But if you're used to wireless charging, maybe you have an older flagship phone, something like that, then going to a phone that doesn't have wireless charging can be a little disappointing, especially if you already have a bunch of wireless chargers. So just keep in mind that the Cricket Dream 5G not only does have wireless charging, but I can tell you through experience, I've owned this phone pretty much since it came out, and I use the wireless charging all the time, and it does work really well with this phone. Now for security features, both of these phones have fingerprint scanners. With the Samsung Galaxy A23, it's right here on the power key, and with the Cricket Dream 5G, it's right here on the back. As far as Face Unlock goes, the Samsung Galaxy A23 does have Face Unlock, but the Cricket Dream 5G does not. So the Samsung Galaxy A23 has a little bit of an advantage here, since with this phone we do get two options to unlock it. But with that being said, let's go ahead and give these fingerprint scanners a try and see how well they work. So starting with the Samsung Galaxy A23, there we go, one more time. And there we go, real fast and responsive, no issues here. And moving on to the Cricket Dream 5G. There we go, one more time. And there we go. So both of these fingerprint scanners are real fast and responsive, no issues here. But again, the Samsung Galaxy A23 does have Face Unlock, and the Cricket Dream 5G doesn't, so if that is a feature that you want, definitely keep this in mind. Now for the camera setups, with the Samsung Galaxy A23, we got a water drop notch for the front-facing camera, and this camera is 8 megapixels. Then on the back, we got a quad camera setup with the 50 megapixel main camera, a 5 megapixel ultra-wide camera, a 2 megapixel macro camera, and a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera. With the Cricket Dream 5G, we got a water drop notch for the front-facing camera as well, and this camera is 13 megapixels. Then on the back, we got a quad camera setup with the 48 megapixel main camera, an 8 megapixel ultra-wide camera, a 2 megapixel macro camera, and a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera. So feature wise, these phones are about the same. They both have pretty much everything a mid-range phone typically offers, including a macro camera and an ultra-wide camera, so that's really good. But I would say as far as quality goes, the Samsung Galaxy A23 is going to be noticeably better. The Cricket Dream 5G isn't bad by any means, especially with portrait mode, but with the photos taken with the Cricket Dream 5G, the colors and overall brightness are a little bit dim when compared to something like the Samsung Galaxy A23. So if you're going to be taking lots of photos, and they're really stuff you want to keep and you want to get the best quality, then the Samsung Galaxy A23 is going to be a better choice. But if you're a more casual camera user and you're only getting a few photos here and there, then the Cricket Dream 5G is going to be perfectly fine. For video, neither of these phones are really anything special, maxing out at 1080p in both the rear and front cameras. Now internally, with the Samsung Galaxy A23, we're getting 4GB of RAM, with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 680 4G processor. With the Cricket Dream 5G, we're getting 4GB of RAM as well, with the MediaTek Dimensity 700 processor. Now as the names of the phones and processors suggest, the Samsung Galaxy A23 is a 4G phone, no 5G connectivity here, but with the Cricket Dream 5G, of course, this is a 5G phone, so if you want access to the 5G network and all the latest and greatest mobile technology, then the Cricket Dream 5G is going to have an advantage. Now as far as actual performance goes, I did run a Geekbench 5 benchmark test on both of these phones, and with the Samsung Galaxy A23, we're getting a single core score of 386, and a multi-core score of 1644, and with the Cricket Dream 5G, we got a single core score of 545, and a multi-core score of 1666. So this is pretty interesting. The Cricket Dream 5G is technically faster, but really not by much. In fact, when you're using the phone, you're barely going to notice the difference in performance. In fact, for that matter, you might not even notice it at all. So yeah, technically the Cricket Dream 5G is a little bit faster and it's a 5G phone, but when it comes to performance related things, I do think both of these phones have pretty much the same capabilities. Neither of them are going to be able to handle super high-end games very well, but if you're doing more regular activities and you're on your phone a moderate amount, maybe doing stuff like web browsing, social media, streaming videos, that sort of thing, even some light gaming here and there, it should all be perfectly fine. But if you're doing really high-end activities, like gaming with really high graphics for example, then you're probably going to want to look at a higher-end device than these. Now for the battery, the Samsung Galaxy A23 has a 5000 mAh battery that supports 25 watt fast charging, and the Cricket Dream 5G has a 4750 mAh battery. I know it does support fast charging, but I honestly couldn't find exactly how much. I think somebody told me it's around 10-15 watts. Regardless, I have put it on a fast charger before and it charges really fast, so I don't really think it matters. Sure, if you absolutely must charge up your phone as fast as possible, then I would say maybe the Samsung Galaxy A23 will have an advantage, because although I don't know exactly what the fast charging wattage is for the Cricket Dream 5G, I can tell you for sure it's not 25 watts. But in general, for the average user, most people really aren't going to notice the difference. Both of these phones do support fast charging at least, and they both do charge up really quickly, so if you don't have a whole lot of time to wait around for your phone to charge up, you're not going to go wrong with either of these. Now as far as the battery size goes, technically the Samsung Galaxy A23 does have a larger battery, but I mean 5000 mAh versus 4750. Is it really that much of a difference? As far as battery performance goes, probably not. Now granted, the Samsung Galaxy A23 is much newer. I've only had this phone for like 2 weeks, whereas I've had the Cricket Dream 5G for months now, so I'm a lot more familiar with how this phone works battery wise, but I will say that both of these phones do have really good battery life. I tend to leave them lying around without charging them for quite a while, and I will say no matter what you're doing with your phone, whether you're using it pretty sparingly or really heavily, you are going to get at least a day's worth of battery life, if not multiple days depending on your usage. So if battery life is one of your top priorities, the Samsung Galaxy A23 is going to have an advantage by a slight margin, but again, you're not going to go wrong with either of these phones because both of them do have great batteries. Now another cool thing about these phones is that both of them have NFC. In case you don't know what it is, NFC is the technology behind contactless mobile payment services like Google Pay, so if you do tap and pay stuff a lot, then you'll be happy to know that it does work with either of these phones. But in conclusion, which of these phones is better? I would say in general, the Samsung Galaxy A23 is going to be the better device here. This phone does have a much higher quality display. You can tell from just one look. The colors are so much brighter and bolder, the viewing angles are better. The image in general with a higher resolution is much sharper, so you're going to get a better experience when you're consuming content. Then for storage, the A23 has double the storage with 128GB versus 64 with the Cricket Dream 5G. The A23 also has Face Unlock in addition to the fingerprint scanner, noticeably better photo quality, a slightly larger battery, again really by a small margin, and better fast charging as well. Now all that being said, the Cricket Dream 5G does have one really significant advantage here, and that is of course that it is a 5G phone, whereas again the Samsung Galaxy A23 is only a 4G phone. So if you do want 5G connectivity, then the Cricket Dream 5G is going to be the way to go. And it's not like you're giving up any processing power, because again, remember, even though they're about equal, the Cricket Dream 5G is a little bit faster by a tiny margin. So if that really is your priority, or maybe you're doing things like reading, where the quality of the display itself doesn't really matter, you just want things to be larger, then again, the display of the Cricket Dream 5G is clearly larger. So that's another case where the Cricket Dream 5G might be a better option. But other than that, as far as features, specs, and just overall design go, I do think the Samsung Galaxy A23 is a little bit better of a device. But at the end of the day, despite some differences, both of these phones are really good devices that provide a lot of value in 2022. Now if you want to learn more about either of them, I have a ton of videos about each phone individually on the channel, so definitely check those out too. But I hope you enjoyed this comparison, and I hope you found the information useful as well. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. But as always, I will see you in the next video.